Okay, so let's, before I go any further, let's talk about what are the characteristics of modeling of biomedical devices and technologies. Well, first of all, it implies multidisciplinary and multi-physics modeling. So multidisciplinary, what we mean by that is that, whether you're a trained electrical engineer, a trained chemical engineer, trained mechanical engineer, could even be something like a control engineer, any of those disciplines can be routed into biomedical technologies. Obviously, because our bodies themselves are multi-physics systems. They're even systems of systems. And so because of that, we need all different types of expertises, all different types of disciplines. So that's what we mean by multidisciplinary. It's also multi-physics, again, because our bodies have so many different types of physics going on. There's heat transfer, there's electrochemistry, there's chemistry, there's structural things happening. All these matters imply multi-physics. So if you're going to do simulation and modeling of biomedical devices, your software also has to be multi-physics. And so COMSOL meets that demand for sure, because we have all these physics interfaces and different products that relate to those types of physics. And you can also put them together. So COMSOL is an extendable platform for that. We also allow for equation-based modeling, and this might seem a little bit arcane, but you never know. And there's many cases where people are doing innovations where there's not a black box equation already made for them. So they need to actually do the research. They need to develop their own mathematical models. When you do that, those researchers can actually implement that into COMSOL. So COMSOL allows you to do equation-based modeling. And of course, there's many numerical methods built in under the hood. We have many different types of solvers, many different types of meshing algorithms, and different ways of doing these analyses. And so that's what COMSOL has to deliver for the modeling solution for biomedical devices and technologies. All right, so let's talk a little bit more, since we have that foundation and what we're talking about with biomedical technologies, let's zoom out, and I want to give you perspective on what COMSOL multi-physics is all about. So focusing on the product itself. So this is a platform, and I want to kind of go through several details here, which are actually pictured by this little infographic. To do this, though, I'm going to actually take off my jacket, because this is going to be some serious work here. So let's talk about COMSOL multi-physics as a platform and as a new paradigm in multi-physics modeling. So we feel like this is a all-encompassing workplace for multi-physics modeling and for the product design workflow. So no matter who you are in the product design workflow, could be somebody that focuses on simulation, somebody that uses simulation maybe just a little bit, or maybe somebody that only uses the results of simulation. No matter who you are, we believe that COMSOL gives you the platform for doing that. And you can actually see that illustrated here. You have those that are doing COMSOL, are doing simulation exclusively, those that are kind of using simulation, and then those who actually only are using the results of simulation and maybe feedback results. So we'll go through this a little bit more detailed step by step, but depending on the roles that you play in the product design workflow, we believe that COMSOL multi-physics has something for you. So we start off with the model builder. That's these guys in this high tower. This is actually probably most of you who are doing simulation, who are interested in simulation. They want to learn more about the product itself. It is probably the part of the product that you become first familiar with if you're actually going to be doing COMSOL simulations. These are the modeling experts. You are a modeling many of you are probably modeling experts out there. They're high up on this column. They're running COMSOL multi-physics. They're doing their simulations. They're focusing on that. In the model builder, this is what we call, you can consider this as the main interface, and it supports all the facets of the modeling process. It contains the physics interfaces. It has extendable modeling, so multi-physics. It also allows for seamless integration of any kind of physics. So I would say that's probably one of the distinguishing features of COMSOL, is that we not only provide a lot of different physics, but all the physics play nice together. They are fully compatible with each other, whether you're doing fluid flow, structural analysis, electromagnetics, heat transfer. They all kind of can be used together seamlessly. And again, we support equation-based modeling for innovation and for doing real research. So this is the model builder. This is the top level. And here you see a picture of the model builder, little screenshot here. It's nice. It's organized. If you are used to using simulation software, this is like a dream because everything is neatly laid out. It is very powerful. You have one-click access to any part of the modeling process at all. So this is all here for you within the model builder. Uh, Having said that, even though it's nicely organized, it's well laid out, and if you're a modeling expert, you feel comfortable here. Having said that, there is complexity here, and you have to be trained to use this. You almost have to be an expert in the software itself to actually be super adept at it and to work efficiently. And so the example here shows this. This is a thermoelectric cooler. There's a settings window. There's some, at least, some degree of expertise that you need to actually make your way through this. And so because there is some degree of expertise, this is something called that people confront throughout industries, many different, actually not only biotech, but also in many other industries, called the simulation bottleneck. The simulation bottleneck. And that is, there's a limited number of people who feel comfortable in a place like this. Maybe you're one of them, and we love you for that. But it's a limited number. So the question is, since simulation is so powerful and can make such a big impact on R&D and product development, how can we get it into more people's hands? And that's what we at ComSol were all about. Now, I was actually just at a roundtable discussion put on by Desktop Engineering a couple weeks ago. And during that discussion, they talked about this very matter. And different software has different solutions. But at ComSol, what we're focusing on is giving the simulation expert the power to design their own applications. And that is what we call the application builder. So the application builder is a platform feature that's built into ComSol. It's a core part of ComSol that empowers you to customize your modeling for specific engineering needs. It's intuitive and it's flexible for you as a simulation expert to use to build simulation apps or applications. And the idea is illustrated here. You have the expert again up here at the highest level, and they can create little mini software. So these people, these design engineers on this lower level, there's more of them, number one, and they have these access to these little mini softwares here, which we call simulation apps. So using the app builder, the experts can create simulation apps, and they can broaden and widen the population to the design engineers. So more people are using simulation down to the design engineer level. This becomes a big multiplier in the number of people that are actually having access to the simulation, and it's a big relief to the simulation bottleneck. So we feel like this is an important part of the modeling process, so much so that this is not something that you have to pay extra for in ComSol. This is actually something that is built into ComSol. You actually have access to this front end software design tool in the main ComSol desktop called the application builder, and we hope that you are able to use it. In fact, anyone that's actually used it, can testify that it's pretty easy to use, and you can make simulations fairly straightforwardly. Let me show you what this, oh yeah, I should mention, this does lend itself to collaboration because those design engineers who are using it can then feed back their information and their experiences back to the modeling expert who can then make that simulation even better. And so again, it's layering onto that collaborative aspect. Here's a view of the application builder. I'll go through this fairly quickly, but basically these are tools that you need to design user interfaces. There's little widgets here. You can put in buttons, sliders, input fields, different types like that. It even has templates for UI design, user interface design. It's drag and drop, so you don't have to do a lot of Java coding or anything like that. You can if you like, but you don't have to. You can just drag and drop. And I know for myself, I was surprised. Like when I first did this, like, oh no, am I going to be able to do it? But it's pretty easy. And if you just play with it a little while, you'll notice that you can have an app running, within 10 minutes. And I think there's going to be a couple of sessions here that will show you how you can do that. So anyone, I really encourage you, try the application builder. It's a great little add-on and an important one that we feel that we've put into ComSol. Uh, the the result of using the application builder are these simulation apps. So again, these are kind of like mini software that design engineers can use to make use of the simulation. Now, underneath the hood of these simulation apps is the full console model. The full numerical parts of it. The number crunching are the same as the full simulation, but the user interface is simpler, so that people don't have to worry about all the different parts. They can really concentrate and focus on the main parts that they're working on. So running these apps gives data. So you can actually, running these simulation apps will give data that to your colleagues that will inform them on things like designs, maybe a CAD design, geometry, material data, what material to use, or instructions, what's the best way to build this particular device. There's a lot of deployment options. You can actually compile them. We actually have the console compiler, so you can actually package this up into a executable and then give it to anyone who needs it, and then they can go ahead and run that simulation anywhere. They don't even need to know that console's under the hood. You don't even need to have a console license when you're using the compiler. You can also have a server that's running remotely. If maybe somebody's working on a tablet or a desktop, they could actually input devices, send it to the cloud, run it at simulation, and get the results back. And again, the resulting app data informs the manufacturing parameters. So you see it illustrated here. You have the design engineers who are running these apps. They could go all the way down to the factory floor. After this data after they get this data, they can actually send these results. Maybe it's geometry, maybe it's material data, down to the factory floor, where maybe there's a head design, maybe even a manager down here who's saying, hey, we need to make this thing work better. Could be a medical device, for instance. And so down at that factory floor, they will get better at what they're doing because of the simulation data that's created. So that's what we feel is our vision for these simulation apps. And we've actually seen it in practice. There's a few user stories that show this as well. Here's what the simulation applications look like. So you can kind of take a look at this. So you'll notice here that if you compare it to the model builder from a few slides before, this is highly simplified. There's no longer a big outline with a lot of nodes and subnodes. There's just input numbers. So if you're a design engineer, you type in your different input numbers, number of columns, the size of the columns, number of plates for this thermoelectric cooler, press the solve button, and it gives you the result straight out. So that's what the simulation apps allow you. They allow the user to concentrate on the important parameters to them, and then generate simulation data to then make the product design workflow even better. So we hope that you're able to use an application builder, and those and so you can make these simulation applications for the design engineers within your organization, or even outside your organization. If you're a consultant, you can actually create little products if you like. All right, so let's move on to the last part here, which is the model manager, which is the newest platform feature in Comsol, and I would say it's a real innovation. With it, we feel like we've achieved this kind of, quote, the democratization of simulation. I like to think of it as kind of the glue that connects all these things together. So what the model manager gives you is a platform for collaboration from everyone up to the modeling expert, down to the design engineers, all the way down to the factory floor. All these people who are involved in the product design workflow can now collaborate. They can work together with this simulation data management tool. And that's what the model manager is all about. It can make your process more data informed, and even the modeling itself can be more data informed. People at the factory floor level could say, "Hey, are you sure that simulation is right?" And then feed back their experiences back to them, who can then make their simulations more accurate and better, feed it down to design engineers, etc. So we really feel like this is kind of giving a symbiosis to the whole system of the product design workflow. Let's see, so it's accessible to all levels at any stage. So we really feel like this is an important process for us. Um, let's see, anything else I could say about this? I would just say that, again, this is a part of the infrastructure that we feel is important going forward, so that simulation doesn't just remain in the hands of a few. There's no more simulation bottleneck, but it can get down to design engineers and even down to technicians and even managers could even make use of simulation data through something like the model manager. So we feel like this is an important addition and really rounds out our vision of bringing simulation to everyone. So let's take a look at what the model manager looks like. So it's actually a tool. It's included in COMSOL Multiphysics. Again, it's a simulation data management tool. The general phrase, or the industry phrase that's used for this, is SPDM, which stands for Simulation Process and Data Management. And this is our foray into that level. So you get things like version control. So you're producing a model. Most of you, when you're making a model, you're saying, okay, this is my model of device 1, and then model of device 2, and then model of device 3. And so as you go on, you kind of change the name of the file. Well, you don't need to do that anymore using the model manager. Instead, you can actually have versions. So in other words, this is the version where I included heat transfer. This is the version where I changed this parameter. This is the version where I did this and that. And you can tag it. You can actually search not only the type of simulation that you're doing, but also what kind of physics are in there. So the model manager is an extremely a powerful tool. It also lets you save things faster. So especially if you're doing a network, dealing with a network license, your saving will be a lot more efficient. There's a lot of other tools as well. You could do administrative tools like access controls. You could put passwords on things. Anyway, the model manager really puts all these things together and lets you associate outside data with your model. So you might have a CAD file, you might have experimental data, et cetera. All of those can be centralized and put together using the model manager. Again, we feel like this is an important part of this process of the democratization of simulation. So hopefully that gives you a view of what we're after in terms of a all-encompassing product for simulation in the entire product design workflow. So let's get back to biomedical technologies, though, kind of refocusing from the COMSOL point of view, and let's head back to biomedical technologies. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through just a few slides that are based on to give you a preview of what's happening for the rest of today. So we're going to have several different parallel sessions. So these will kind of give you a little taste and a teaser of what's going to be coming up. So the first off is the bioheating of tissue. So this is using COMSOL Multiphysics and the heat transfer module. It features verified functionality for modeling bioheat transfer problems such as the Pennes equation. We also have ready-made interfaces for thermal damage and therapeutic repair. We also have models that have been integrated into apps. So-called digital twins, enabling digital twins. And so we feel like this is important. Here we see an example of, this is actually the bioheating that is created by using a cell phone too much. If you put a antenna close to your head for too long, there is some heating that would occur. So this is one example of that. We have a user story on this available at COMSOL.com. From Medtronic. Medtronic advances ablation technology with multiphysics simulation. Now, ablation is kind of the removal of tissue, and you can use bioheating to do that. And that's what's happening here. And so these researchers, this is actually at their site in Colorado, they use COMSOL Multiphysics to do this simulation of ablation of tissue. This is from a tumor, so of course we want to get rid of the tumor tissue, and it's using radio frequencies. The interesting thing here is that it also included some phase change. So it's quite an interesting model. Again, if you want to know more details, you could check it out at COMSOL.com. You also have a session on biomedical sensors and tests. That's still a very relevant topic in the age of COVID. Of course, we're probably still taking tests every once in a while. I know I was going to go to a party, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, and they're like, oh, by the way, you have to have a test 24 hours in advance. I'm like, okay. Anyway, tests are still there. They're very important, and they're sensors for things like viruses, but more things as well: antigens, oxygen, glucose, which is important for metabolic diseases like diabetes, also DNA, and then pH. All these sensors are important. And there's also things like gene sequencing functionality as well that's needed with these biomedical sensors and tests. And so COMSOL provides tools to do this. Porous media flow module for the osmosis of the fluid through the device. You know, when you're doing the test strips like you see here for COVID, remember, you know what those look like. Here's an example of that. Also the microfluidics module for doing flow in very small channels. The other part that is with these biomedical tests have to do with chemical reaction engineering and also electrochemistry that are involved. So these are the things that we can get, that COMSOL provides for the biomedical sensors and tests. The example here comes from Roche. This is a glucose monitoring example and a user story from a few years ago. It can be very sensitive to operating conditions. So the researchers here, product design engineers, wanted to focus on how to make this better, considering a wide variety of different operating conditions. And so it was a real multi-physics model where it included mechanical, it included electrical using the electrodes, also chemical, as well as flow. So this is an important modeling process. And you know, with diabetes on the rise, the glucose monitoring becomes more and more important. The next session is going to be kind of on acoustics. So this is from the acoustic side of things, ultrasound and hearing aids. So in the ultrasound side of things, we're talking piezoelectric transducers, which couples together the waves, acoustic waves and fluids together with elastic waves in structures. We also allow for nonlinear effects, so nonlinear acoustics is able to be done that's when there's very extremes. We also have hearing aids, so that's something that researchers have turned to COMSOL for, using microacoustics and thermovisco losses. So one interesting thing I remember when hearing about, this is actually a cell phone manufacturer, I don't know, this is probably over 10 years ago, maybe 15 now. They were noticing that there was a big problem for the hearing aids and for the microphones because of this thermovisco losses. This isn't a problem when your speakers are really big, but when they're very small, there's these small thermal gradients can make a big difference in the quality of the sound. And so they were looking for a product that could handle both acoustics and heat transfer. COMSOL was a solution. Anyway, that's one example that you'll see more of a little bit later on. We also have couplings to transducers and structural vibrations, as well as feedback and spatial sensitivity. The user story here comes to us from Asote from Italy. They are modeling ultrasounds over there and these piezo disc transducers. What was interesting here is that they were doing something that was experimentally difficult, and that is analyzing the impact of bandwidth on the mechanical layers of their piezoelectric transducers. And they were able to get some really good results from that. Again, check this out on our website if you're interested in more details regarding this user story. The next section is on microfluidics and separation in biomedical technologies. Again, this is a session that you'll see later today. And the main thing to keep in mind here is that on the small scale, there's different types of physics that become important, and they pose both challenges as well as opportunities. And so this is, again, a result of miniaturization and automation. And these are for things like blood tests, also different types of nucleic acid biochemistry. The design of devices to keep the molecules and the cells contained in little compartments, and even count them one by one, these different types of particles. And so doing that is a real challenge and requires a close analysis using microfluidics. This also arises in the study of artificial tissue, synthetic vascular systems, for instance, different types of damage and also oxygenation. We also want to optimize laminar flow systems, and that again has to do with microfluidics. There are things like lab on a chip or miniature laboratories. And this also requires the combination with chemical reaction engineering as well. And so what we're talking about here is using microfluidics and separation for biomedical technologies to make these devices better and more safe and with more accurate results. And so the example here comes to us from Horiba Medical in France. This is about hematology analysis. So we're looking at the analysis of your blood. Now, I'm of the age where I have to, when I go to get a physical, they also draw blood, and I'm actually starting to pay attention to the numbers that they tell me, different things like HA1C, my blood glucose level, blood sugar level, the lipids, all those types of tests. These are using these types of microfluidics devices that are necessary. These are the quote unquote labs that they check on me every year. So I'm starting to pay more attention to it. I could get better, but I'm watching my numbers, as they say. But here's an example again from Horiba, where they wanted to what they're actually doing is they're counting the different particles using this new kind of innovative device, where they're using hydrodynamic focusing. So they're using this kind of little nozzle here to get these this little focusing here to get cell by cell to be able to count them. The physical prototypes in this case did not do the job, so they turned a simulation, and they notice again, this is a very highly multi-physics situation where there's high fluid velocity, there's heat transfer, and there's electric fields. Again, more information is available at our website, comsol.com. The session that I'm very interested in, and is the next session in this main room, is the FDA blood pump validation. This is something that we've been working on quite seriously for the last year or so. This is a model that is actually defined by the FDA. Now, the FDA is the 900-pound gorilla in the world of biomedical devices. Everybody needs to pay attention to what the FDA is saying. And so they set forth this CFD validation model and the different parameters to do this model. And if you can do it, then then you've validated your software. So we've done that with ComSol. And so we're very proud of that. We want to show it to you. And I think it really proves that we are serious and ambitious. We're not a toy software. We are software that is bringing you real results that you can use to inform, life and death types of simulations for your product designs. This is what we're bringing you with this session, and we hope that you'll check this out. This is coming up in the next session again in this main room. Finally, we come to from a very specific application, just one model, to a very wide family of models, and that is electromagnetic applications. It's a very broad topic, and there's a lot of different things, both in high frequency and in low frequency. You can see the bullets here. Maybe you could find your own. I won't go into too many details here, but again, this is going to be a nice survey session a little bit later today. Actually, it's in the next session, but in the parallel room. They will show you a very wide variety of different electromagnetic applications for biomed in ComSol. The user story I'll feature here comes to us from Abbott, who was actually somebody from Abbott is going to give a different person from Abbott is going to give the keynote today. And this is enhancing the performance and safety of medical implantable devices with multi-physics simulation. Now, this model is actually a different type of blood pump, but what the researcher was most concerned with was safety. And of course, this is something that's critical with biomedical applications. Health and safety are number one. And so they wanted to make sure that the electromagnetic fields that are generated by this blood pump don't interact with any other type of electric systems in your body. So this is in the category of EMI or EMC, electromagnetic interference, electromagnetic compatibility. So this researcher did that using ComSol. So we hope that you can go ahead and see that. Oh, this was also featured as a keynote in a ComSol conference a few years ago. So if you want to see the full video of that, you can also look that up as well. All right, so with that, I'll just have a few concluding remarks here that correspond to this illustration here. First of all, easy for me to say, multi-physics modeling and simulation are becoming key tools for developing biomedical and biochemical devices. The apps that I talked about, they allow for a larger community of scientists and engineers to benefit from high fidelity multiphysics modeling. And there's a collaboration between all functions within the product development around models and apps is increasingly important for all industries, especially for designing and optimizing biotech and biochem devices. So we feel like this is where the future is and what the trends are. So we hope that you'll join us and being ComSol users and simulation proponents for biomedical technologies.
Thanks for joining us.